to jump on besides myself. Good morning. Happy 420. Happy Easter if you celebrate. Happy all the religions if you celebrate. Happy all the non-religions if you don't. To everyone's happy 420. It doesn't matter. Happy Taurus season, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Hey, so while we're waiting for some people to get on here, why don't will you give me about 10 seconds and tell me some attributes of someone with maybe a Taurus sun or what that means for us, being in the Taurus season.
Okay, so yeah, it's really fun to look at people with the sun of the sign that the sun is currently in because it kind of tells us something about the attributes of that sign. And I've always gotten along really well with Taurus. Of course, I'm an Aries, so you kind of get along with your adjacent sun signs. I get along well with Pisces and Taurus. But Taurus people have a strong sense of security. So they've got good boundaries. They want to be prepared for what they're walking into. And I've rarely met a Taurus that uh, sort of didn't put the order of their home before their comfort. And
Right.
Tauruses are all about comfort. It's a very sensual sign. It's very much about the physical nice things that are nice things to have, the stuff that feels plush and soft or solid and grounded. Very much about those colors too, green and brown. um, I know a lot of Tauruses that really get into that kind of earthy vibration when it comes to the color template as well. So um, I when I meet a Taurus, especially when I meet a Taurus, I always ask them if they are the kind of person who does all the dishes before they sit down for the night. And they usually
Right.
say yes, or the one Taurus rising that I met recently said, I don't always do all the dishes before I sit down, but I don't feel good about it.
Now I'm a Libra sun, and so I'm naturally drawn to Taurans.
Hmm.
You call them Taurians,
Yes,
Taurans,
Taurians, yeah.
Tauruses, Tauri.
Bullheaded
Um,
people.
yes. So anyway, happy Taurus season. We're gonna go ahead and start. We're already 3 minutes in, so we're gonna go ahead and start the program. My name is Jennifer Rose, and welcome to Astro Insights Live, also a live tarot card reading around 30 minutes in. I'm here with my wonderful wife, Mel Rose, who is an astrologer, an intuitive astrologer, an intuitive tarot card reader. She stars in Astrology Today that you can see on this channel right here. And we host Astro Insights Live every Sunday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. So we hope that you will continue to join us for all of that. And Mel does Astrology Today on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. They're usually quick, 48, about a lesson about the next 48 hours or so, or
Mhm.
I think it's really helpful to start your day or to end your day to know what tomorrow's gonna be. So anyway, speaking of Taurus seasons, we have a lot of people who are near and dear to us who are Taurans. But today we have a birthday on 420. So happy birthday, Brooklyn! Yay, girl! Happy
Yay,
birthday!
Brooke.
So
Happy birthday,
that's our
girl.
happy birthday on 420, girl! Whoop whoop! All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Melanie so we can go ahead and get started with the astrology and tarot for today.
All right. Well,
Next.
as we have already mentioned, the sun just, let's recap the last week or so. The sun just went into Taurus yesterday. Okay, it's Sunday today. So the sun just went into Taurus yesterday, and the moon went into Capricorn the day before that. And that was kind of I think, kind of a welcome slowdown to the fiery edge of the beginning of the week, because at the beginning of the week, Mercury moved on into Aries, that's a fire sign, and conjuncted with Neptune in Aries, which is a fire sign. And then Mars moved on into Leo, which is a fire sign. Things are really heating up. Things are really shifting out of a sort of water sensibility to a fire sensibility. So, uh, from more emotional and intuitive and about how things feel to us to what am I going to do? Like, what kind of actions do I want to take? And considering our actions before, like thinking before we leap, that kind of thing. So, uh, with all that shifting toward fire, it was nice to get the moon and the earth then to shift out of fire signs and into earth signs, just to sort of slow our pace, sort of ground us. And in Taurus, after the fiery initiative of Aries, what Taurus does is it helps us choose a pace that is that we can endure. It helps us choose a pace that will help us carry on for a long time. We want longevity in our efforts, right? And it also helps us just feel as though we're cultivating something that has long-term importance for us in terms of our stability and our security. So being in Taurus is all about paying attention to the things that make us feel physically grounded and supported and well supplied, and looking to those comforts so that we have a strong foundation from which to work in our lives. And then yesterday also, Mars went trine to Neptune. So Mars in fiery Leo, trine to Neptune in fiery Aries. It's a very sort of acting on your impulses, but acting on your dreams, acting on what you idealize. And with Neptune now in Aries, there's a lot more clarity about our idealizations, about the things that we idealize. There's a lot more clarity about what our dreams are saying to us, and a lot more just um, yes, clarity around our sense of purpose, which Mars wants to know what our sense of purpose is because Mars wants to know what we're going to do, right? So, we're thinking creatively, we're acting creatively. It's much less of a passive watery sort of following the path of least resistance, and more of a fiery initiative, which is active and sort of consumes what's in its path, consumes and purifies what is in its path. So um, that fiery vibe is still going on. It's still much more fiery in the sky than it is earthen, but with the sun going into Taurus, we can, sort of set a pace for ourselves. It sounds like it's thundering up there or something. Set a pace for ourselves. And it's not thundering, it's a 7-year-old. But but and then coming into today, we have a bunch of really impactful things in the astrology. Venus is completing a sextile with Uranus, which is, sort of acting on the different things we're attracted to, the things that are outside our normal template for attraction, acting on or trying to draw in different resources than we normally do. Mercury is sextile to Pluto, which is a cooperative vibe between our thoughts, plans, and communications and the powers that be. So it can really be a vibe for speaking truth to power, and like being effective in the truth that we speak to power. Because it's one thing just to shout into the wind, but I see hundreds of thousands of people out there protesting every day, really really speaking truth to power. And when those numbers of people show up, power listens. Okay, so that's what we're seeing. Even if they pretend they did not hear us, they heard us. Okay, and they will continue to hear us until things start to go a little bit better. And then also today, the sun makes its square to Mars, which is going to be a big part of next week, because we go into the week with this triangle on the chart, and it's Mars's opposition to Pluto and the sun squaring Mars and Pluto at the same time. This is what we're walking into the week with. It's a very challenging vibration. It is about power struggles. It is about the desire to do something about uh, the powers that be, or to do something to grasp control of power for ourselves. There's this power struggle vibe here where we want to take action, public action in our work, social, and civic lives, where we deal with other people to make progress in the direction that we want to see it go. Because Pluto's a big player in this game. Pluto is the god of the underworld. It's the god of the unseen. It's the stuff that you don't know about. But when the sun interacts with Pluto, when Mars interacts with Pluto, things are going to happen and things are going to be revealed. We're going to We're going to see stuff show up in our consciousness that we were not aware of before. And that will really want to make us want to take action. So, the thing that I'm thinking about right now is like the whole case with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, where, they deport this guy. They shouldn't have. They admit they shouldn't have. They did it anyway. The court says, you got to bring him back. And they say, no can do. That's something I didn't know could happen. Okay. That's something that's been revealed to me about the powers that be, that they could just decide they're going to defy a court order, that they're just going to decide that it's impossible to undo something that they've done, whether it was by mistake or not. That's new. Here in the United States, you get the president saying, can't do that for you. Sorry, So some new things are being revealed. We are learning new things about how the power is going to be enacted here. And there is a strong push for everybody to stand up and do something about it.
So remind me, yesterday, hello to everybody just tuning in, welcome. Remind me yesterday what the astrology kind of said, like what were the transits?
For Saturday yesterday,
Yes.
we had Mars trine Neptune. So Mars and Leo trining Neptune in Aries,
Oh, okay.
and the sun going into Taurus.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I think it was yesterday that JD Vance thought he was going to see the Pope. And the Pope said, nah, we need you to talk to this person about having a little bit more compassion. Would that make sense with the astrology that happened yesterday?
Absolutely, absolutely. That Mars trine Neptune. Neptune is about compassion. Neptune in Aries is about compassion in action. And the things that JD Vance says, they betray a lack of compassion a lot of the time. I'm not the Pope, and I can see that.
Right.
But for like a leader like the Pope to use his power in that moment, that's Mars in Leo. Okay, Leo is about leadership. Mars in Leo is about leadership. For that leader to go, I think here's some grace. I'm not going to meet with you face to face and tell you what I think, but I'm gonna send somebody to have a conversation with you and help you learn a little bit about compassion, hopefully. Yeah, because Neptune is all about compassion, and it is compassion in action when it's in Aries.
Right. And you know, I think that's really Taurus season. Like, it's like, hey, JD, you need to get grounded, buddy. Like you need to remind yourself, like, so I did
Yeah.
a little reading and let me tell you, I'm not an expert on JD Vance or anything like that. But a long time ago when they announced him for vice president, which I was like, why are they putting him in there besides his sweet, cute little face, his little, you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
besides his like obvious good looks, which they always look for in political candidates. Why is he there? And I thought even back then, I was like, oh yeah, they want him to be president, right? But the thing about JD Vance is, inside he wants to be president now. He doesn't want to wait.
Yeah.
And I I also read a little bit about the fact that he is subscribing to this kind of super far right version of Catholicism by someone that he's been following for years, and that might be
Hmm.
his quote unquote guru. And, I would think that it would be just like the Pope to be like, I see you following, a false prophet here. And this is going a little bit
Hmm.
further than we'd like for it to go as far as the Catholic Church is concerned. So why don't we, help you get grounded in the morals of our church, in
Hmm.
the ethics of our church, in the compassion of our church, of the service and goodwill. Like
Hmm.
I mean, like maybe they're gonna John Boehner his ass is what I'm gonna say. Like the Pope is, really uh, you know, uh the Pope is really instrumental in changing people's lives in a lot of ways, whether you, subscribe to him or not, or
Hmm.
to the religion. And, hopefully this will, um, put a little shock in that part of his heart that's kind of dying off.
Yes.
Because look, this is what we were talking about. His astrology chart is a Leo sun, a Libra moon, and Leo rising.
Mhm.
And that is someone who probably even feels like they're owed a spot in the spotlight forever. You know,
Yes.
if you're ever talking about the Lion King, here we are.
Mhm.
And those 2 Leo placements are strong placements. Like every Leo I've known does their own shit. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do, or who you are in those Leos' lives, they go. And I love
Yeah,
that. And it's also really annoying
yeah.
because sometimes it's like, oh, Leo's here, and then oh, Leo's there,
Mhm,
like,
mhm,
but you get that Libra moon, and I'm gonna call this a 5, 6, 7 of
mhm,
swords cards in the deck. I'm saying in a Libra moon, you will do anything. You will say anything to get what it is that you want. It's a really manipulative tone, I feel,
mhm,
with the balance, with that hanging with the 2 Leos and the Libra hanging in
mhm.
balance, like, wow, that's a whole lot of I mean, like, I know as a Libra, I think I like a little bit of attention, but not always. Like, I have super stage fright. I get
Mhm.
really nervous, Mel knows. But also when I get up there and when I'm doing my thing, I'm like, "Ee," I'm like a big cheese bucket, I'm just like I
Yeah.
just turn into a gigantic ham, you know? So I feel I understand a little bit about JD Vance, but it's also, like cult leader-ish,
Mhm.
and it just it makes me a little bit nervous about kind of where he's going and what he's doing or
Yeah.
like he's already written this whole story about himself, this narrative that he wants to tell about his life, right? We saw it in a movie.
Mhm.
And now he's got a whole other story that's bottled up inside of him and he's trying to figure out what his character is.
Yeah.
And it's a little confusing because I believe that he's been bullied and he turned into a bully as well. I think that there's just so many layers to this guy, but the bottom line is he's going to do whatever it takes to shine brightly. And you're gonna
Mhm.
know he wants to be seen and heard and loved and adored.
Mhm.
And so hopefully this compassion thing can help him, get on the right track.
Yeah.
But wow, like I feel like the astrology kind of saw that happen,
Looking at his natal chart, it's not just that the sun and the ascendant are in Leo and the moon is in Libra, but the moon in Libra is ruled by Venus, and his Venus is also next to the ascendant in Leo.
Mm,
So it's sun, ascendant, and Venus in Leo. Like, to him, it's only fair that he should be in charge of things,
right.
right? Like, to
So,
him, justice is that he comes out on top, you know?
right, and that's what I'm saying, like, I was confused as to why they put him as vice president, but, I think the Republicans saw that he was moldable and that maybe he
Mhm,
could take over if, Trump ruined it or, like the Supreme Court turns out the lights at the White House or whatever the hell it is that they decide they're gonna do. Like, I think that they wanted him as a solid replacement in whatever way that is. I'm not
mhm.
saying anything about the president whatsoever. I'm just saying, when it's time for the vice president to step up in the ways that vice presidents step up. Like I
Hopefully, he'll
think,
have what it takes.
yeah, hopefully
Yeah.
he'll have what it takes. And then, like some compassion. Yay! It goes a long way.
Yeah, I did notice, and I think this was back during campaign season too, that he said some things that really showed that he aligned with some sort of medieval Catholic
Yes,
teachings. I don't remember what it was that he said now, but it was really just like, "Oh, okay, well, that's a time when, even only certain men had freedom, like,
right?
and
Like I
women
don't
were
think that he
certainly chattel and, like,
right. And
serfdom and all that shit." Yeah.
he has, changed his political party, and I think that's just indicative of his astrology. Like he will
Mhm.
do and say anything if he thinks that it gets him in the spotlight, even if it's negative, like but negative
Yeah.
publicity is still really good publicity. And so just watch for this and watch for a transformation in one way or the other
Mhm.
because we know that when you put pressure on somebody about something that's near and dear to them, it can either cause them to sit back and reflect and meditate, which is what this time period is asking us to do,
Mhm.
Or, the other
Double
part of
down.
this time period that's asking us to stand up for our beliefs.
Mhm.
So he might triple down and go super medieval, on
Yeah.
his religion. Like, it just depends on how he took that yesterday, honestly.
Mhm.
So I'm just putting it out there, like, yeah, the astrology was there for it. As we try to intuit what's gonna happen, it's just interesting at what does end up happening.
So, as we come into this week,
Mhm.
um, the moon is in Aquarius, and like I said, we have that triangle aspect with the Sun, Pluto, and Mars, where we are seeing power struggles. Power struggles are being revealed. The way people's actions, have been are being revealed, and we might feel a strong motivation to act. The sun being in Taurus, however, is a strong motivation to act based on a plan, knowing that we will be secure, knowing that we will be able to procure from our actions what it was that we set out to get. So don't underestimate the bulls around you. Don't underestimate the Taurian influence around you. And if anything, lean into it. If it doesn't feel comfortable, if it doesn't feel like it's good enough, and I'm talking about materialism, yes, I'm talking about your health, I'm talking about what you're taking into your body. If it doesn't feel like it's supportive enough, if you don't feel like going into something you're going to be supported, then that's not the action for you.
Speaking of supporting your body, I had my second shingles shot, and it's been a rough couple of days, but way less rough than I imagined shingles could be. So I'm kind of underneath my blankie right now because I'm just have a little bit of a fever, but
It should
still
be.
totally worth it. But as you were saying, take care of yourself. A
Yeah.
great weekend to get a shot. Like, I was able to sit yesterday and watch TV all day. I binge watched 7 seasons of something, so it was great.
Nice. So, as we move into the week, Tuesday, the moon moves on into Pisces. Moon in Pisces. See, moon in Aquarius, that's my moon. I'm a moon in
Mhm.
Aquarius. And then moon in Pisces is Jennifer here. Um, And if you know your moon in Pisces people, then you know you're real dreamers. And I mean like people who have dreams.
Oh, yeah. I think this last week has been, like, dream central for me and my Pisces
Mhm.
moon, and I have also been just, like, clicking into other water moons, especially Pisces moons in my dreams. Like, if we're dreaming and we're close or we share an energy line, like, I'm probably dreaming what you're thinking or dreaming your dream with you. It's just kind of odd how all that works, but I've really gotten to know my friends a little bit more in my dreams and what they're dreaming about, and I can also, just kind of understand what they're going through at this moment. So but I've had some really warped dreams, and I've had, oh gosh, when was it that I had that one dream? It was last weekend, wasn't it? Yeah. I'm still kind of reeling from a dream that I had where someone from my past who's passed away came into my dream, and it was really something magical. They resurrected themselves in my dream. And you know what? A Taurus too.
Mhm. Of course.
Yes. So I had a Tauran dad and as a Libra sun and a Pisces moon, I had a Taurus sun dad and a Capricorn sun mom. So we
Yeah.
like we like nice things and all of that, but then there's the Capricorn.
Yeah, then there's all that structure and boundaries and responsibility and limitations and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So then going into Wednesday, and all this week, the moon is waning. Okay,
Mhm.
we start today, Sunday, with the half moon, and this coming Sunday will be the new moon. So all this week, we've got that waning crescent moon. On Wednesday, the moon is in Pisces, and that's when the sun will complete its square to Pluto. So that's one part of that triangle I've been talking about of Sun, Pluto, and Mars, where things are revealed and we need to take action. We feel the need to take action to set power in its right place, really, to take or use our power to make sure it's being used to correctly. So, uh, so
What
and
she said.
that's what she said.
That's what she said. I agree with what she said.
And especially Sun square Pluto, it's just sort of like it's sort of like shining a light, allowing us to see sort of what power is doing and where the transformations are being called for, and that gives us like a sense of purpose and power to act. And if you see which way the tide is going, okay, let's try to go with it. Let's try to be accepting of certain changes, okay? But not all of the changes, not the changes we're not happy with. There's nothing saying don't resist. Okay? This is a time of power struggles, but it's sort of like if you don't embrace some kind of change, if you don't embrace some kind of transformation, we're all being called to make incremental changes or sometimes big changes. What Pluto will do eventually, and these are Plutonic days because Pluto is very activated right now, it'll say, okay, well, you haven't come along on the incremental changes that I asked you to make. So now you're over here and I need you over here. So I'm just going to pick you up and move you. And it can be very abrupt and it can feel very upsetting and it can set you back, mentally and emotionally and even like financially and physically, to be moved in such an abrupt way. And that's why, I'm always saying, roll with the changes, allow the changes to happen, be as embracing of the changes as you possibly can. Um, and if you're not happy with the changes that you see, then there's work to be done. But not accepting reality, not accepting the fact that things are changing and that we have to change with them, is really just going to put some of us in for some rude awakenings. And I don't want rude awakenings for anybody that I know or care about. So, accept these changes as they come. Accept this understanding, this new understanding of the world that we live in now to come in, because the past is over, friends. It's not like it was before.
Ooh, that's our nightly meditation coming into our daily life. I do find it interesting that I think it's really been heavily this last week, but 2 weeks. And I always feel like I'm about 3 to 5 days ahead of the astrology, like the energy and everything. And maybe that's just like maybe that's just my intuitive brain, or I don't know what that is, but we have been looking at a small piece of land to buy. I
Mhm.
don't know anything more tourist season than looking for a place to, a four of wands card, four of pentacles card.
Four of Pentacles, just
Uh,
get some ground under our feet.
right.
Yeah.
So we've been looking at a little plot of land in hopes to, just start something. Just like really make the move to say, this is our intention. We plan to build and maintain our life here.
Mhm.
And, we've been trying to figure out where we land and who we are and what purpose we're supposed to fill, as both 52-year-old women, um, with so much life and energy left in life. We're just trying to figure out how we can be the best possible versions of ourselves going forward and
Mhm.
how we can inspire, and create space that is inclusive and inspirational at the same
Mhm.
time, while, just getting a piece of land that's our own.
Yeah. Making our dreams come true and being an example to others that can happen, for
Yes.
sure.
Even with a small little space of land, it can still work. So Taurus season is here.
Yes, yes.
I'm sorry,
So
I don't know where I put that in at. I don't know
it's
where I
okay.
interjected that. I was also gonna talk about the fact that it's raining a lot here.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like that's the watery season kind of going like, "Bitches, we were here.
Right. Don't
We're
forget.
not letting go."
Never forget how that felt.
Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces, they're like, "We're still here." And if you deplete us and then fill us up with emotions too soon after you've depleted us, we will flood. So
Yes,
temperance still is key.
yes. So coming into so that was Wednesday. We were talking about Sun square to Pluto, which might show us reasons to take action regarding the power and how it's used in our lives. And then on Thursday, Moon is still in Pisces. It's like it's almost a 3-day transit in Pisces. Those moon transits are around 2.5 days, and sometimes they're a little longer and sometimes they're a little shorter, depending on where the moon is in its elliptical orbit around the Earth. So that waning crescent moon in Pisces on Thursday is there with Venus and Saturn in Pisces, where they meet up for a third and final time
Right.
in this Venus retrograde cycle. Now, Venus is no longer retrograde. Venus went retrograde, and Venus has now gone direct again, still in that shadow, still retracing those steps that she went retrograde in Pisces and then in Aries. But right now, Venus conjuncting Saturn in Pisces. We've had a whole bunch of stuff right here at the end of Pisces and the beginning of Aries. The whole year so far has been end of Pisces, beginning of Aries, and clicking across that line that really is the very end and the very beginning of the zodiac. So this is a period of endings and beginnings, and it is a period of things sort of wrapping up and then new things getting started, and then we have to go back and sort of review what we wrapped up before we can get back to what we have gotten started. So it might feel like false starts, or it might feel like slow starts, but I do want to say that Mars is now in Leo, so when we take action, it can be effective and it can really show. Venus meeting up with Saturn, however, Venus is our values and Saturn is our practicality. Okay. So it's combined under pressure. And it's really just like we feel like we are under pressure to shore up our security. That's what we want. That is what we need and desire. What I need is my security. What I need is stability in my life. And I'm not seeing that really coming from usual sources of stability in my life. So I have to I have to draw in sources of stability and security in my life. It's very important at this time. There's an intensification of that energy, and Venus being a personal planet, it's almost like it's up to me to create the stability that I need. It's up to me to decide what is going to make me secure and and bring that about.
Yes, this is me searching for the land. Okay. I feel like this is my idea. I mean,
Mhm.
I have a fire sign and I'm an air sign. So I'm just like, I have this idea and I want to blow it past you and see what you think. And I have to blow it past a few times before, and then I have to drive you past a few times, and then I have to do all sorts of things, and then I have to include other people in the whole manifestation, and then, hopefully it will happen, but, I think this is really, like, indicative. I wrote something down for this, but I can't really see it right now,
Okay.
for this energy, but I do like that we're all trying to maintain some security, and I hope that also means that there are a lot of groups out there getting the unhoused in
Mhm.
houses right now. I think that is one of the most important things that we can do is house the houseless right now.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So while we're in tourist season, I'm hoping to manifest houses for everyone,
Right.
homes for everyone.
And so appropriate that Venus is having its third and final conjunction with Saturn here. Venus rules Taurus, where the sun is. Okay, so we're still being ruled by this sort of Piscean vibe, even though the sun has moved on into Taurus.
Mhm.
There's healing here. There really is an ability to create. When you put water, Pisces, and Earth, Taurus together, you have ability to like make bricks or make, like create things that will stand the test of time. So uh, I think that's very auspicious. I think that's a positive sign.
Yes, and I like that whole Saturn aspect because as Nadia Shaw was saying in her horoscopes, for my big 3, it was pretty much like, "Hey, something's gonna come up and, it's gonna seem tight or whatever, but the money is there, it's there for you. You're gonna have to work for it." And,
Mhm.
getting a loan from a bank is always work, which it shouldn't be, in my opinion. Okay, so my opinion is getting a loan should not be work, shouldn't be a full-time job, but the good news is it can be my full-time job if that's what I want. I'm a very persistent person, so
Mhm.
if I want it and there's a way, if there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And me, Venus and Saturn, I'm already looking into every loophole in this city. Every loophole,
Yes.
all the ordinances,
Venus and
all the
Saturn does see
laws.
the loopholes. Venus together with Saturn does see like, okay, yes, those are the rules, and then here's the way to bypass the rule right here. It says so in the law, and we're going to do that thing.
Right, right. So I'm pretty thoroughly aware of all the ordinances and the loopholes at this point. See, I'm astrological.
You are an astrologica, an
Astrologica.
astrologica. Okay. So
Okay.
that's Venus conjunct Saturn. It's really just getting practical about getting what we need and desire. And then on Friday, that waning crescent moon moves on into Aries, out of Pisces into Aries. Moon in Aries makes us want to take initiative, get things started. But it's interesting because it's so close to the new moon, you know. So we're taking initiative, but it's at a time of release. It's at a time of letting go. It's really at a time of sort of like wrapping up the last month's events and getting ready to take a break so that we can begin the next month's events. So um you know, to me there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of initiative. If you've got stuff sitting by the door that needs to go out, you'll probably just say, okay, well, I'm going to put this in the car and take it with me now, that kind of initiative, that kind of action that says, okay, this stuff has to go, I'm taking it.
Mhm.
And then coming into Saturday, the moon is in Aries, and Mars, the ruler of Aries, perfects its third and final opposition to Pluto in this Mars retrograde cycle. So Mars has been direct for a little while now, but not quite out of the shadow yet. And this is the third time Mars is completing that opposition to Pluto. The first time Mars completed that opposition to Pluto was around the time of our election in November. The second time
Mhm.
was around the time of the inauguration in January. And this third time is, I mean, tax season. I mean, tax day just passed and they're trying to dismantle the IRS. And I don't know if anybody filed their taxes, or, like if when you file your taxes, it goes to anybody right now. So maybe that has something to do with it, but I'm just saying, like, we had election, we had inauguration. Now this is the third and final of this Mars opposing Pluto. We're going to see some action around power struggles, which we've been seeing these two have been opposing each other more or less for a long time now. But something might happen on Saturday or right around Saturday that shows us, that really exposes like what power is doing. And because the sun is still square to those 2 points, it's going to be like, and we're going to do something about it because
Right?
we
It's
need
this
security.
what is the aspect? Did I already miss it? Am I spacing out here? Because I'm looking at the comments. What was that aspect that you and I talked about this morning about was it the moon in Aries and Mars opposed Pluto, the third and final? That's what you're talking about now,
Mhm.
right?
Sun, yeah, moon,
Okay.
yeah, moon and
So
Aries and Mars opposing Pluto is exactly it.
was this the one where I thought this might be when Mr. Garcia actually comes back?
Oh,
We
right.
were
So,
talking about.
yeah.
I think that Donald Trump is a little, well, more than a little. He's very unpredictable, and he said over and over and over again how he changes his mind, and sometimes he changes his mind because he has to.
Mhm.
He just wants it to be his idea. So if you can just feed him things that are his ideas and let him roll with it, like I think you're like
Yeah,
golden.
yeah.
But I think that I think that he doesn't want to oppose the Supreme Court. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think there are some parts of the government that he still finds to be a part of his particular kind of patriotism for his
Mhm.
age and you know what he sees it as. And I think the Supreme Court is one of those things. And he said that he would comply with the courts if they told him a certain, you know, that he said he would comply with the courts, which he's not.
Mhm.
And he has proven that he, you know, hasn't, you know, he doesn't care. And, you know, like, I also like that. I like the rebellion of it, you know, because I don't know, even if it's wrong, you know, but he's showing us that where what he thinks is the most valuable pieces of America that he's keeping. And I don't see him trying to dismantle the Supreme Court. I haven't heard him say anything about, I mean, I haven't heard a whole lot of information about the Supreme Court at all.
Mhm.
But maybe I'm just out of touch. Who knows? But I really think that that's one of those institutions that he doesn't want to go up against. And when they're literally talking about turning off the electricity to the White House, that's embarrassing. You know, like he's a billionaire. He's never had to worry about the lights going off in his own personal residence. You know what I mean? And that would really bring him down to a level of commoner that we would not want
Yeah.
to see. And I just don't think he's ready to fuck around with that. I don't think he is. I don't think he personally is foolish enough to do that. Maybe some of his advisors are, but I really see that maybe he's going to bring Garcia back in his way. Okay,
Mhm.
it's going to be a pomp or in a circumstance or as a, you know, I don't know. He's going to use it as an example. You know, like
Mhm.
he just think makes me think of that dad that throws you in the deepest end of the pond and tells you to swim back to him and he'll be there. You know,
Mhm.
just go ahead and do it. So I think that he just wants to have a whole lot of he wants to be front and center on this situation. He's got to reclaim that power from the situation that has been taken from him. And I call that his power is to abide by that court, to give these people due process, to stop sending people to El Salvador without due process, and to bring Mr. Garcia and everyone else that they've taken out of this country illegally
Yeah.
back here.
He has no problem saving us from the crisis he created, that is true.
No.
As long as it's his idea to do it.
Right.
And, you know, what Jennifer's talking about, in case nobody picked up on it, is that, you know, he has not been complying with judicial orders, even from the Supreme Court. And so now the judges have to think about how basically to force him to comply or oust him from his seat because, you know, if he's not going to comply, then none of this works. None of this
Right.
works. No
None
checks
of
and
it.
balances, period. You know, like
You know,
that's
and
that's full on dictatorship right there. To
right.
say you can do something and not undo it because the court said that you need to undo it, then that's it. Then he's the king, and you know we don't do tyrants here in the United States. So, uh,
Right.
cutting off the electricity of the White House is one of the options that one of the judges suggested. Like the U.S. Marshal Service exists to carry out judicial orders, and if the judicial order is to cut off the lights at the White House until, you know, Kilmar Abrego Garcia comes home, then that's what's going to happen.
Yes,
So,
but
so is Saturday the day the lights go out at the White House, or is Saturday the day that Kilmar Abrego Garcia gets on a plane and comes home?
I think there's a plane coming home to the United States on this one, and I also think that we're going to learn something about it. And while they're looking for loopholes and using them, like they may be down to their last loophole. You know,
Mhm.
they've this thing that the Supreme Court just struck down Saturday morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting a Supreme Court notification saying, you know, I think it was the one where they said, no, you can't deport people, or I don't remember. There's so many, but I mean, well, now I got confused, but I really just feel like I don't know. I think some things are going to change. And unfortunately, also, I think that change could be like next week, in the next week or two, possibly the
Mhm.
death of some leaders. And I don't know if that means like physical death or just removal from the leadership position.
Mhm.
But some pretty rampant changes I think are getting ready to happen. Oh, what I wanted to say is like again, I'm just gonna say Trump said that he doesn't like the government and he's anti-government, and that is by and large why we as a country probably elected him, besides like the vitriol that he's sowing that he doesn't even believe in. I promise you, the gay stuff, the trans stuff and everything, he doesn't give a shit about that stuff. He's
No,
just
it's
doing that
politically
because
expedient, but it's
it's
evil that he
hot
uses
button
it.
topic,
Yeah.
but Trump is not. I just don't believe it. I don't believe him as a human being that way. It's just bullshit. So I don't know. I just feel like some things are going to change, and I unfortunately feel like there's some death that's going to happen. I don't know if that means war or if that means, more fucking school shootings or what that means for us. But hello, USA, it could be anything at this point, you know?
Mhm.
So, okay. Is it time to move on to the tarot reading finally?
No, we have not even finished the week, my love.
Oh, okay. We've had a lot to say today.
So Saturday is when we have Mars develop that final opposition to Pluto. We get the power struggles and the desire to act on it going throughout this week, really. While the sun is in Taurus, really asking us to think about our security. And then on Sunday, the moon goes into Taurus, and we have that new moon in Taurus. So, new moon is the time to pause in your personal creative cycle, to bring yourself back to the here and now, and to consider what you have before letting go of, being done, letting go of what you've let go, then before you begin to create again. So, um, in Taurus, that is really looking to your sense of security, your sense of comfort, your sense of material support. Are you well supplied? Do you have the foods that you need to eat? Do you have the physical stamina to do what you need to do? And do you have, the shelter that you need and the fundamentals taken care of? Are you comfortable at home? Do you have even some of the nice things that you like to have? That's part of the new moon this time. So when we come back around to the present to consider what we have, it's literally materialistically what we have in terms of, our bodies and our resources that is going to help carry us into the next creative cycle that's going to help us establish a more secure future for ourselves. Yeah.
That was pretty sexy. I have myself on mute while I'm trying to deal with this fever on, fever off, fever on, fever off thing.
So after the new moon, which is this coming Sunday in Taurus, next week is Beltane. It's the very beginning of summer, or it is the late spring. It's the halfway point between spring equinox and summer solstice. Okay, so Beltane is that time when things really start to get lush and green around here in Missouri, at least. And that's coming up on Thursday. But before that happens, Venus is going to move into Aries. We'll have then like 5 planets, Chiron, Neptune, Mercury, and Venus in Aries, at least 4 in Aries. And then
Woo,
the next day
that's a
we
lot
have
of fire.
it is a lot of fire going into the beginning of summer too. So it's a very active start to the summer. And then also next week, after Venus moves into Aries, it will conjunct Neptune. Yeah. And then at the end of the week, next week, Pluto goes retrograde. So more Plutonic days. Pluto,
Mm.
you see, when planets go retrograde, they first stand still. Okay. And that's what Pluto is doing right now. It is standing still in the sky. All these planets are aspecting it as it stands still. And that is just bringing around the values of Pluto in our world, like showing us what Pluto likes to do, which is reveal things to us and surprise us with things, and maybe sometimes sort of take us underground and show us something we've never seen before. um,
Right?
yeah, so when Pluto goes retrograde, which is for like half of the year, it doesn't feel a whole lot different. But right now, that Plutonic energy is pulling a lot of power just because it's standing still in the sky and it's getting ready to turn. And Plutonic energy, that's endings, friends. Endings are always followed by beginnings. Okay, that's the optimist way to look at it. But yes, Plutonic is very much ending, is very much turning things over and inside out and upside down. So hang in
There's
there. Hang in there.
There's
Hang in
something
there.
wrong with me. When I hear the word Beltane, I think of Beltone, and I think that that is a brand of hearing aids. And so the whole time you were talking about Beltane, I thought of Beltone, and I thought, well, it does get, more green, and it is kind of in between the ear canal, and it does facilitate a grounding.
More green. Oh my goodness, Jennifer.
I know. Well, I mean, like, green is like a green light, like, "Yay, I can hear," like, it's happier, it's growing.
Yes.
It's growing on me. Beltane,
You're growing on
Beltone,
me.
Beltone. I mean, it's just one vowel difference.
So Beltane is the celebration of the beginning of summer, though. And we are going to talk about that on Astrology Today. We do touch a little bit on the holidays and what they mean, because they're seasonal holidays. They're based on actual real events that have to do with the relationships of these planets with one another, and the tilt of the Earth on its axis in relationship to the sun. And so the seasons are an important part of our calendar. They really do mark the changes that we go through physically in our lives. And Beltane is that time of year when we are really just starting to get into the heat of the summer, just gearing up for all of that warm weather activity. And for
Warm
protecting
weather.
ourselves in the warm weather as well, and protecting ourselves in the sun. Um, lots of people around here like to go play in the water, so there's protection for that as well.
Yes.
Mhm.
Are we about to the
So now we can do cards. Yes.
tarot
Yay.
reading? We didn't talk about what you were gonna, do for today, what the tarot stuff what the
I can think
tarot
of that. Let's see if I can think of anything clever for the moment. Let's see. I'm going to do one for desire and one for responsibility, and that's going to be the Venus uh, conjunct Saturn vibration.
Okay, so the first card is
Desire.
desire.
Mhm.
Wait, so you said Venus? Tell me. Venus conjunct.
Saturn.
That's right. I think I'm separated from that because it feels like I'm in trouble already when you mentioned Venus and Saturn together. Venus and Saturn together is like, Jennifer Ann Rose, get your ass in this house right now. Like, shit, I'm in trouble. So I get a little just verklempt when I hear Venus and Saturn together. Yeep.
Yeah, and it's not the desire; it's the responsibility.
It is the responsibility.
Okay, so my first card is for Venus. Venus is our representative of desire. It's our personal planet, about how we get the stuff that we need and desire, how we draw in, attract things to us that we like, love, and can't get enough of. And the card that I got for that is Eight of Wands, which is full speed ahead.
Yeah,
That's appropriate because Venus is going to go into Aries next week, so it is going to be full speed ahead very soon. This
yeah,
is very much about, taking action to get your needs met.
right. And to me, that is also, since I was talking about not only about the land, but I've also been looking at what to build on the land. And to me, that looks like a lot of lumber I could use.
Yes, yes, yes,
I
exactly.
desire to build something on
Mhm,
that. I
mhm.
desire to put my efforts and my energy toward doing that.
Yes.
Um, and that's such a pokey card to me. Every time I see it, I'm like, okay, okay, shit, leave me alone. I'll do it. And that's
It's
usually
very
just
much a
me
make hay
telling
while the sun
myself,
shines kind of card. It's like, no,
right,
it's good now. Let's go.
right.
Yeah.
But, so, all right, the 8 of Wands.
Desire.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a desire for progress, right?
it is a desire.
It's a desire to take action, I think.
It is. It's a desire to take action. It's a desire for movement. It could even be just a desire for moving, just move along, move along, move along, move along, get it going, get it going. Every
Yes, I
time I
see
look at
here.
this, I just see something different,
Hmm.
but yeah, it even looks like tire tracks from my perspective, just
Oh, yeah.
staring at it. Tire tracks or claw marks, clawing your way out of a shit situation.
Hmm.
Sometimes it just feels like clawing yourself out of a brown paper bag that's in a plastic bag that's in a recycled bag.
Sometimes desire is not so much about the thing that you want or the attention or the affection or the gifts or whatever you want. It's sometimes desire is about losing what you don't want, putting things that you don't want behind you, recognizing what's not satisfying, and moving ahead toward something that is more satisfying, which would be a
That's
different card, but it's an 8. Like the 8 of cups is about putting what's not satisfying behind you so you can go look for it, right?
yes.
And 8 of wands is
Also,
like, go look for it. Let's do it.
exactly. And also, I find it interesting, like, gosh, I'm really seeing these lines, just seeing it from this perspective instead of in front of me. Like those lines on the very bottom, those two wands seem like they're there in a way to kind of support the rest of them. Like,
Hmm.
you know, that
Yes.
short wand there is kind of like, we were going down that road and we decided not to. So these other three roads work, or these other three ways work, or
Hmm.
just kind of getting rid of that extra
Finding a
little
way,
bit.
finding a
Yeah,
way. Yeah.
fun way. Yeah. Interesting. And then I
All
just want
right.
to light a match on the end of those and see what really happens. Light them on fire and see where it goes.
Set metaphorical fires, friends. Metaphorical fires. I'm not trying to encourage anybody to burn anything down. But Jennifer is. She's the one married to
I'm
a
just
fire
saying.
sign. She's the one that's always trying to get me to set fires.
I'm just saying there's 8 of wands there, and if those are 8 matches, I'm lighting them, and probably just to light one damn candle, but still.
Okay, so the other planet in this equation is Saturn. So we're going
Right,
to draw a card for Saturn, which is about our responsibility, our accountability, our security, our oh,
jeez.
we can carry a heavy
Okay.
load sometimes, friends. And
Okay.
when we take on too much responsibility, okay, this is what this card says. When you take on too much responsibility for things, how can you even see where you're going? Right? This person can't even see the path they're on for all the stuff they're trying to do. So
Right.
it's time to lay down some responsibility. It's time to, talk about our limitations and how I can only do so much at one time, and maybe delegate some authority to take care of some stuff to other people. Okay, because no one person can do it all, and we are in collective times. It's going to take collective actions to make the real changes, the real structural security that we want to create is going to come from collective action, not individual action. So let somebody help you out. Let somebody help you out, okay? Don't take it all on yourself. Don't try to do it all yourself. In fact, look around for the best person to take care of something and ask them if they want to take care of it.
So, funny enough, as I'm talking about this land purchase, I have Venus in Virgo, which is pretty much, I think, just makes me a Virgo. I look at I I'm I'm very detail oriented in some ways, and then some ways I have piles of shit just hanging out, okay, in my
Mhm.
house. So I'm detailed in some ways and not so much in others. But so after I had this idea about the land and I got Melanie, excited about the land as well. She and I have sat for many hours, just kind of talking about what's next, what's next, what's next. And I finally just started like looking at all the ordinances and everything, and there are just answers to questions that I can't possibly come up with. And so what did I do? I sent a message to someone who we know is a real estate agent who knows all of those things and knows the questions to ask. I mean, I was even gonna 10 of wands this shit, and I was just even gonna message him and be like, "What question should I ask if I call?"
Mhm.
Instead of just asking him to do it. And I was just like, "Look, just ask him to be the agent that deals with this stuff, like give him the
Mhm.
information and just go on." Um,
Yeah.
so
Accepting help from people, allowing
yes,
people to do what they're good at so that you can do
yes,
what you're good at, and we can all be
yes,
more effective.
absolutely, yes. And
That's
it
that's
may
part of our responsibility at this time. Yes.
right. And part of that is kind of trying to figure out who might co-sign if we need a co-signer,
Right?
like what bank to use in that,
Mhm.
like all sorts of things go into this little bitty piece of land that we want to buy to just kind of start, something new, something fresh. And um we are both really independent people, and we want to do all the things that we can on our own and then give up some of the responsibility when we've had enough sometimes.
Mhm.
And it's really hard and difficult for us to do, if I'm honest. Like, it's really not easy for me to let something out of my hands because for some reason I believe that I'm the one who can hold all those wands and I'm the only one who knows how to hold those wands properly to get that shit together. And if I let
Mhm.
somebody else hold the wand, well, they're going to drop it. They're not going to carry it. They're going to drag it. They're going to dunk it in
If
something
you
that
want
smells
it
like
done, you
something,
gotta
or
do it yourself.
you know what I mean? Yeah. So, it's kind of like, oh, I'll do all of this. And this is just really awesome, like
Yeah.
we're completely on with this energy. And so hopefully that will
Mhm.
be fruitful for us as it is with you. So we've been talking about buying land, and we've been talking about, what is it? Venus and
Mhm.
Saturn. The
Mhm.
first card is the Eight of Wands, and the second card is the Ten of Wands. And it just looks like a lot of us are carrying a lot of responsibilities around with us, okay? And some of those responsibilities have to be maintained, but I really think that the overall idea here is don't take on any more than what you can handle, and don't take on other people's shit. If there's an expert in that stuff, don't become the YouTube expert in it if you don't have to.
Right.
Like, you
Yeah.
don't have to be the expert in everything, and I'm just learning
Right.
this myself, but
Mhm.
you're not the expert in everything, okay?
Take on the tasks that allow you to make the progress you wanna make, but don't take on so much that you cannot make the progress. We all get to a point where we're like, "Oh, yeah, I could do that too," but that's where we get stopped, that's where we get slowed down because, yes, although we could do it, that doesn't mean that we should be the one to do it. You know?
Right,
Like,
right,
calling a friend can help a lot. And, I just want to point out that these are both wands cards. This is fiery. We have a lot of planets in fire signs right now. The vibe is really heating up and becoming active. So it is about what you can do to access the things that you need and desire, and what you can do to delegate authority and to not be taking on more than you can do. Okay. Because
right.
we want to be effective. When we're taking action, we want to be effective. We don't want our actions to be wasted. And if you're taking on more than you can do, then your actions are being wasted, time is being wasted, stuff's not getting done.
Yes. So I can see in the comments here someone's asking whether or not they will conceive a baby this year. And I hope that you're listening to this. Like, I think putting pressure on yourself or trying too much might not be the ideal situation. Even just like
Mhm,
I'm just answering this. I mean, like, I'm just answering because I saw it, and that's what the cards are saying.
mhm.
Um, like, don't put too much energy into it, okay? It's happening, like, it went from an
Right.
8 to a 10 of of wands swords. It went from an 8 to a 10 of swords rather quickly here, okay?
Wands.
So that
Yeah.
meant wands. So, like, we went from the 8 of wands going forward to the 10 of wands, like, oh, we can only go forward so much because we've taken on so much with it. So
Mhm,
just take a breath, take a break, take a breather. That doesn't include whatever it is that you've been focusing so hard on. It's really important that we give ourselves a rest in every way. And if we're
Yeah.
talking about conceiving a baby or conceiving a home or any of those things, it requires rest in between the work. We have to rest.
If it's overwhelming for the person who is trying to conceive, if it's overwhelming, it's not good for you, right? It's not good for your body. So we don't want to overwhelm our bodies with our efforts.
Right.
The card that lands between the 8 of Wands and the 10 of Wands here is the 9 of Wands, and that is about perseverance. It is about being resilient. It's about staying in the game. So if you're trying to conceive, of course, you still need to be doing all those things that it takes to conceive. But it's one of those kind of vibrations like, hang in there, don't do more than you think you can. Okay. And you're coming to the end of that journey. So it's possible that you will conceive, but you won't conceive by taking on more than you can do, by overloading your body, by overwhelming yourself with the desire to get pregnant or the pressure to get pregnant when you are, you know, when you're struggling with it. So
Right. Right.
uh,
Right. Right.
resilience, not overwhelm. Okay. It's hard
Right.
to be resilient in the face of overwhelm. Overwhelm is the part where you feel like, I can't be resilient anymore. I'm going to break down. I can't do this anymore. I can't carry this load anymore. And if you're feeling that way, it's time to take a step back and have a conversation, probably with your partner, if you're trying
Right.
to conceive, about, what is, you know, what I can do and what is too much for me to do. Yeah.
Right. We can't answer with a yes or no. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's not possible. Um, it's not it's not necessarily the kind of, stuff that we're concentrating on right here, right now.
Hmm.
But I think that was a really great question for the cards that we were drawing. And Mel, I wondered today, since we just have a little bit of extra time because Mel doesn't have to go to work. Do you think that you could draw like for me when I draw wands cards or when I draw anything that's going um in motion, I always want to ask a where, like where are we going? Like what, just a card to kind of round it all out. Maybe you can pick another card to just kind
Okay.
of one to
Absolutely. Where are we
end it
going here?
all. What do I call it? I don't know what it is. Yeah, my year is of 2025 is about temperance, and it's really about
Balance.
yeah,
Yes.
it's about balance, and it's about, um yeah, it's about really learning from the ups and downs that you've already been through and knowing that if you make this choice, you're gonna go back through that, and if you're
Hmm.
making this choice, you're gonna go up to that, like,
Hmm.
it's really, really no in between except for yourself, so you have no choice but to take care of that and balance that out. Um,
Yes, this card is very much about finding that balance in the body and in your resources. It reminds us that you never really get to stop trying to balance your resources, to
right,
balance what you want against what you need, to make sure you have everything that you need. And then there's this reminder back here that sometimes the emotional, like the landscape can be a little bit choppy. It can be a little up and down with the emotions and the intuitions. Like even the market has been up and down a lot lately, right? And that plays with
right,
people's emotions, believe it or not. And so, a calm emotional outlook is important to being able to balance our body's needs and to balance our resource needs,
right. Um,
to
yeah.
prioritize the right things.
Right, prioritizing the right things is really, really important, and that Pentacles card, I have been looking at the, ships in the background and that those emotional ships that are sailing, they have sailed. You've got the experience now, you know what to how to make things go up, and you know how to make things what makes them come down.
Yes.
You so it's really to me, this card is about it's a FAFO.
Hmm.
It's like we've got our lessons that we've learned and our lessons
Hmm.
that we might not have learned and, like, either we're going to balance them really well, or, like we know what's going to happen if we tip them one way or tip them the other.
Mhm.
My Libra scales are showing here.
Yes, yes. Sometimes to balance the scales, we have to put a little something on, like we have to add something good into the mix, right? And then
Right,
sometimes to balance the scales, we gotta take a little something off to
right,
balance things. Yeah,
right. Yeah, so, like, when I'm feeling super anxious, I definitely don't watch anything, super dramatic or anything on the TV before I go to bed.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, I just don't take anything that is too overwhelming for me, that I know that will overwhelm me,
yeah.
like, my sugar's gonna get high if I eat a dozen donuts. It's really just kind of those things that we've learned and that we know what to do. Like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I know I didn't, take my medicine the last couple of nights, I'm gonna
Mhm,
get back on that." It's these things that we understand that if we FAFO with, we understand what could be, the normal response, you know what I mean?
mhm.
Um, we just know what will happen if we don't get our shit together. And
Right.
this is a card about just kinda getting it together
Keeping it together too.
and like, keeping
Like,
it together and just
that infinity
understanding.
symbol is there because you never get to stop trying to keep it together, okay? It's not like
Right,
I can do the dishes and I will never have to do the dishes again. Or
right.
I could do the laundry and I will never have to do the laundry again. That's not how it works, okay?
Damn.
Well, maybe for me with
Yes,
the dishes, like, I can do the dishes and then I don't have to do them for, like, a month, but
right. Yeah,
somebody gets to do them.
That's me with a lot of things for sure, but
Mhm.
definitely this card is probably what a lot of us are feeling right now, whether it's finances or the way that we're taking care of our body or the way we're taking care of the things that we own, the pentacles, the things that we can touch, feel, the things that we've
Mhm.
worked for, and you know, um, yeah,
Yeah, looking out for yourself and the things that you value.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what we're going to be doing here in in the next In the next week. We've already been doing that though, and we have
Mhm.
to keep, showing out. We have to keep,
Yeah.
doing these protests. I know there were um, a whole blackout, an economic blackout this weekend.
Mhm.
We haven't really left the house, but I don't know how much. I think that we are like, way, yay! We get a gold
Yeah.
star for that. Isn't that the point? Yes. So I think next week is going to be a great way for us to start feeling settled, and as I've seen my neighbors get out into their yards to try to make things, more sprayed, get a
Beautified,
lot of things
yes.
to, come out. It's time for people to start mowing their lawns where we are here in Missouri. We're just gonna try and better our surroundings the best that we can, and make those things that we need, our real needs, make sure that those are met in whatever way we have to. And there might be a
Absolutely.
lot of juggling with that, no lie. Like, shit is not cheap. Like, I remember when I could
Yeah,
go to the grocery store and everything wasn't $5 each, but now it's like $5 each, and that's really hard to balance. So
yeah.
I'm here, and it's really hard to balance our thoughts and feelings right now at this moment too, for all sorts of reasons. But the Two of Pentacles says we're gonna hang in there, and we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna
Mhm.
figure this out. Like a tita tata.
Like a tita-tata. Okay, well, that is our reading for this coming week, friends.
Yes.
I hope that you gained some valuable information here that might help you navigate your own life with more of a sense of peace and prosperity and success. For me, that's the whole name of the game. Just gathering whatever information I can have so that I can navigate my own life that way, is important to me. So thank you so much for being here with us on this journey. And you can catch me here on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. to do a couple of days astrology preview. I draw the chart. I show everybody what's going on the chart for the next couple of days, and we talk it over. And then you can see us back here at 10 a.m. live on Sunday for this weekly preview and tarot card reading.
Yes, and if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please do so. So that way you'll know when we're on, when we're live, when we're doing spells or what have you. And please like this so it can further us here in the algorithm so we can get to more of you wonderful people out there. This week, keep it grounded. Uh, for me, don't let my mouth run away with me. I have therapy this week, so it'd be good.
For me, don't
Air
take on more than
signs.
you really think you can do.
Air signs, don't take too much advantage of your fire signs right now, but they do really need a little guidance so we can get some shit done. And we really look forward to seeing you next week. We appreciate you hanging out with us for an hour and 15 minutes when we know that you could be doing so many other things. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And we'll catch you in the next video.
Next time.